Oh, technical issues again. Sorry for the delays, you guys. Now I'm pretty sure you can hear us.
Okay, guys. So thanks for joining us
Yeah.
for this second part of our webinar. AMA, I am Carolina, part of Business Dev team, and I'm here with Douglas Gilbert, our Rocket.Chat apps lead, and our interviewed Gabriel Engel, our CEO and founder.
So hello guys, thanks for joining us. We're gonna have a lot of topics to cover. We're already a few minutes late. We are getting, I promise we're gonna get better and better at this. We still need to leave a setup, have a computer to leave it set up so you don't have to reassemble everything every time. So today we're gonna cover a lot of stuff that we didn't talk on the last time. But one is about the next release, the previous release 1.2, 1.3, the coming release 2.0, and the next major release, what we have planned for it. Talk about marketplace and subscriptions. We can give you some updates on the React Native, about Fuselage, which is a new project. Not so new, but maybe new for the community to know more about. And there's some other news about the business itself. So I hope you guys stay with us. I think it's going to be a little longer than we expected, not just the half an hour. But let's get started.
Awesome, Gabriel. So let's start with our questions. So since last AMA in June, we've had two releases of Rocket.Chat versions, 1.2 and 1.3. Can you give us some of your highlights about that?
Yes, sure. So I think 1.2 came a few interesting features that people were asking for some long time, like custom user status. There's some like different endpoints for anonymous reads in channels and message built so we can get some functionality from Alexa and other systems that sometimes need to participate on public channels to read them as rooms. We started to have the major work on the app bundles and starting to actually be able to put bundles on the marketplace for people to buy a set of apps together. And I think there was one major change that people noticed. There was even a little bit of hiccups about changing the Mongo version, the MongoDB version on our Snap from 3.2 to 3.4. I think this was an important move since we are deprecating support for older versions of Mongo. And there was a little bit of work to do on how to make that upgrade seamless to our Snap users. So yeah, there were some improvements on colors and the configuration of colors. Also some like bug fixes on the streaming of typing and being able to use real name for channels, like sometimes are not being erased. So this was like 1.2. A lot of the other improvements were done by the team in performance, and there was a lot of bug fixes. 1.3 again, the main features that we added was ability to put subscriptions on the marketplace. So the whole idea is that now when we are start allowing our community to sell apps, rather than just being a one-off payment they can actually sell an app for, they will be able to choose an option to get people to subscribe to apps, get a subscription for specific apps that will also vary according to the number of users, create a trial period for those, the license of those apps and so on. So we worked a lot to make it very flexible on how people can then commercialize their work to the Rocket.Chat ecosystem via the marketplace. Try to really create something that can benefit the developers and help them to make money from what they contribute back to their community. And again, there was a few other stuff, like we finally deprecated version 3.2, the MongoDB 3.2 on the release 1.3, and there was some improvements on the web dev file picker. So now other apps and integrations can have different ways for you to select files to share in Rocket.Chat, not just from your computer, but then using the web dev, we can actually integrate many other file storage systems and platforms with Rocket.Chat. I think those are the main things. I think they are visible to the users, apart from the work on scalability that we have a big portion of our team working on. The whole point is we are targeting to be able to have hundreds or millions of users connected to a Rocket.Chat instance deployment. We have some customers there. We are pushing that boundary already with Rocket.Chat, and we are working to deliver that kind of scalability for them. And a lot of this will soon get to the community with some upgrades and some of those changes being now merged back to the community modules. And also, what we're going to talk about next, there are a lot of work that is being done that is going to only be featured on the next major releases. And we'll talk about that soon.
So let's talk about the future. What is planned for the next release?
Okay, so there's two things. Like the next releases, we have one which is going to be the 2.0, which is going to be the very next release. We decided, we were having this debate internally if we should wait and put all the main changes, group them all on the next release, and maybe push the 2.0 further, a little bit further in the year, and get all those things in the 2.0. But what we understood is, like, we might as well make a major release now. There are some breaking changes. That's why it's going to be called a 2.0. But it's mainly around things that we are dropping, rather than new features that we are adding. So we'll be dropping the old live chat widget. We'll be dropping really dropping the support for MongoDB 3.2. We'll be dropping our experimental library that we did for GraphQL, and we're dropping some like old things that we were more experimental, and then we talked to the community and were not being used, but they were heavy on still like lots of libraries they were loading and so on. So we're actually doing a little bit of a code cleanup and dropping support from some old stuff to make the whole system lighter and more scalable. So that's mainly what the 2.0 is about. So there's not much of like really new flashy features, but it's more about dropping old stuff. Then for the 3.0, that's going to come not that much later after the 2.0. There might be two versions in between. They're going to be quite close together. It's where most of the work that we are actually doing right now are going to really appear. So one that we'll get into more details later is the new admin area. We are totally removing the admin area from the Blaze and Meteor built ecosystem, and you're doing a whole new admin section in React using a new framework of components for admin interface that we are calling Fuselage. You can talk more about that later. So the whole idea is all the admin area that it's part of the bundle right now and loads on when everybody loads Rocket.Chat. Even users that have no admin rights and never going to see the admin interface, they still have to load all that interface. We are moving it to a separate module that is going to be loaded by demand. And it's much lighter, and it's like a new technology. We're going to simplify the number of streams we have. So right now, when a mobile client or a web client connects to Rocket.Chat, they have to, just turn it down. They actually have to subscribe to a lot of things, like all different streams of different types of notifications and messages and chains. What we're doing is really simplifying it down to, I think there's going to be three subscriptions that you have to do, or actually maybe there is going to be one that the client connects just to one stream and then lets the server connect him to whatever is necessary. This is all part of the performance work that we're doing, where we are trying to create all the routes for messages and updates to happen on a predictable way, so we can reduce by like a lot, like a factor of 10 or something, the number of messages they're happening in the system between the different components, especially for large deployments when you might have many servers running to connect to the customers, and rather than everybody streaming all the message to everybody because you don't know who is connected to what node, we are doing a project where it's going to be a lot more predictable who each customer is connected to, and when you're sending a message, where in the network that message needs to go to reach that user. So there's a lot of simplification happening on the streaming of events. And for me, the two also like big changes that are going to give a lot of make the system a lot more reliable, the mobile apps and on the web clients. One is the chained messages. What it means is that each message is going to start having an ID of its parent of the previous message. It's not just a one-to-one. A message might have multiple parents. It's an eventually consistent kind of tree where sometimes it might branch a little bit into multiple branches, and then maybe one message then goes there and grabs all the branches and reunifies them into a trunk. But the whole idea is whenever you get a message, you can roll back and ask the parent, and you get the whole tree back. Or at least if you missed one of the branches, when you get a new message and see there's an ID, a parent ID on that message that you don't have, then you know, oh, I missed something, so I need to go and follow that branch as well. Why is that is going to give us a lot more stability on the mobile clients and all the other clients? Is that it's a predictable way for the client to know if or when they miss something, rather than having to keep pointers into specific date of the last message, and then always have to ask, like, do I have everything since that message, and hit the server with that question. And then sometimes if you keep controlling if a request failed or a message failed, and then you actually receive a partial response, and then you don't know if you missed something in the middle. And we know that this is causing a lot of problems. We have one of the largest complaints on our mobile client, the current mobile clients, is that sometimes a message that is shown on the web doesn't show on the mobile client. And creating this chain of messages, it's what's going to give us the assurance that all the clients will always know that they have all the message whenever they're going to render it, and they're going to know at that point if something missing, they're going to know straight away that is a missing link, and then they can request it. I think that's one of the big changes. We already have developed this for the Federation protocol, so servers can synchronize rooms using that mechanism. The idea is we're now going to start pulling this mechanism back into the core of the application, so every system will be able to rely on the chained messages. And another big difference is also that we are going to be turning what today we call system messages when someone is added to a channel, or they change a topic or change. So we have a few of those. One big change is we're going to have events or system messages, or still we have to work on the final name, and everybody to use the same, because right now we have a few options. Everything that happens on a channel or room, it's going to generate a system event. In this case, like any change to any setting on the channel, any adding people, removing people, every rename, What does it mean? It means that just by following the message stream, you will be able to get to the final state of the channel. So rather, you don't need to subscribe to changes on that channel. They're not going to have another subscription or another publication of changes on the channel. They're going to be part of the stream of messages that are on that channel. I think that's also a very important and fundamental improvement for people to, if you're following the channels, the messages, and then you're following the chain and you know you haven't missed anyone, then you're certain that you also have the latest state of the channel like that, without having to check up two streams. So this always also gonna help a lot. So those are the main things for the 3.0. So if the 2.0 is going to be dropping a bunch of stuff, the 3.0 is going to be more about adding, like changing a lot of the engine to make it work faster, simpler, and more reliable.
Right. Yeah, that was deeply technical. But then, so you've mentioned the marketplace changes before. So what can our users expect with those updates that have been made to that?
Yeah, okay. I think maybe some people mentioned that maybe doing a quick intro to the marketplace could be interesting. So if everybody know, if you don't know yet, the marketplace is how you can go now to the admin and actually get integrations and extension and some new functionality added to Rocket.Chat without having to recompile your system. Right now, most of the applications have been built by us, but the whole idea this will flourish into a full-blown marketplace like Google Play or the Apple App Store, with all the community publishing apps there, being able to choose if they want to give it away for free or if they want to be that to be charged, and having all that handled by our servers, the distribution and charging and paying commissions, all that system. That's what we're calling the marketplace. And so if you are a developer and developing new functionality to Rocket.Chat or customizing Rocket.Chat, you might think that worth having a look and seeing if what you're doing cannot be actually turned into an app. In this way, rather than you changing the core code, you build an app that can be added to any Rocket.Chat and then be sold on our marketplace to the whole community. Obviously, and there's been lots of times where maybe there's an API for the marketplace for the apps that have not been built yet, and then I would love you guys to raise this API request with us, with Doug, so we can focus in what APIs are missing. We're missing first, and also sometimes the community start building the APIs that they need and then submitting the pull requests. So I know that would be a little bit more work for whoever is developing an app, but if you develop your functionality as an app, and if you miss APIs, you can build an APIs and make a pull request for the APIs. In this way, then you're sure that your app will be able to be distributed for the whole of the Rocket.Chat ecosystem.
One thing on that, we are actually starting on the Apps Engine alpha and beta channels so that we can get a faster iteration, like with the contributions from the community. We have new exciting features going on there about external components and such. So please come enjoy the conversation and add your pull requests to that channel so that we can improve it and start discussing about it and how to improve the overall engine of extension.
Cool. And then other stuff, like I said before, we added the idea so you can have the feature so you can have subscription to be able to charge apps, so you can sell apps for a one-off, for a fixed price, for a per user price, or a per user per month price, and you can also give away trial periods and so on. So it's a very you're trying to be as flexible as possible to leave people to choose their business model on how they think their app should be consumed by the community. There's something that is still working on. It's also air-gapped servers that don't have any connection to the internet, that should be able to download the apps and install on your server as you want. That part is still under heavy work. Hopefully, we'll be out. We have a partially out maybe by the next version, and a fully working version out in the next 2 releases. But it's a little bit more complicated than we anticipated. There's like all these situations with like updates, expiring, or if it's free, and I don't know. There are all the changes we need to just to care about, and it's a little bit more complicated. But we are definitely understand that there is this use case where servers are off the grid, and we need to make sure that they will be covered. Let me just open the channel. Should you leave this channel open so you can follow?
Yeah, this one.
Okay. Cool. Still little. Okay, now I'm just gonna maximize here, and I think it should be okay if I increase the size of the.
Doesn't work on the.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. Let's just continue with our so far that we can have a look on the generator. So what else?
Right. Also, like in the last part, in part 1 of this AMA, the user 040 lab, 040 lab, not sure how to say that, but
Yes.
asked a question that you wanted to follow up on. The question was, if I started developing a bot tomorrow, which platform or approach would you recommend on that?
I think, we need to have a webinar about bots, and maybe invite different people from the different bot frameworks as guests to talk about. And then I think each one of those could defend their bot frameworks and help our community decide. What I can say is, like what I just said, a lot of those things we're expecting that you should be able to do directly from an app perspective without needing a bot. If you're willing to just program your JavaScript or like TypeScript, and then create, we're giving a lot of the APIs to that script. So you have like a cron job, we can have memory to store stuff, and then you can. So yeah, ideally a lot of the bots would be just scripts, apps, then run on our bots engine that also already like have a environment for that bot, for that app, for that bot, and then they have a separate threading mechanism for that and stuff. So I think ideally we would like to see a lot of those built as apps. The apps can actually perform web HTTP requests, and you can do a lot of stuff subscribing to systems outside Rocket.Chat. So we should be able to build a lot of stuff. We have bots from our own apps as bots for many things, like from telling us when people are on holidays or on leave. We have you have a bunch like for pools, for there's a bunch of there's a bunch of things inside our system that are bots that are built as apps, and they don't have to live elsewhere. They're just like being handled by Rocket.Chat themselves. So I encourage you guys to look at that.
Yeah, right. So we have some other projects as well, not just like Rocket.Chat, but our mobile apps and other things. So any news on that?
So I think one of the main projects that are seeing a lot of change that we talked about last time, and even on the first AMA, was the mobile apps. We felt some time ago that React Native was really like getting to a position that is becoming a strong and very performatic platform or framework for development. We realized there was a big gains that could be made by sharing the knowledge between mobile and web team, and decided to replace the mobile apps with them. We then did a matrix comparison of the features, so an assessment of what things we need to finish so the React Native apps will have all the features. And we're happy to say that we are finally 98% there, maybe like that close, enough that we think we are a couple of weeks away from being able to replace the native apps with the React Native apps. Right now, if you don't know yet, you can already try the React Native apps on the store. You just need to look for Rocket.Chat Experimental. It's a blue icon rather than the red icon. And very soon, in a couple of weeks, those apps are going to replace the native apps. So if you have done the standard Rocket.Chat app installed, that's the app that's going to appear, replace it. And then it's going to be replacing for everybody. And then it's going to have the red logo and everything. We're still going to keep the experimental. The whole idea is we want people to be able to give us feedback on new technology, right? So if we are only publishing the apps, the final apps for people to try out, then they only have one installed on their phone, and it's hard for them to actually give us any feedback. So the idea is we're gonna keep like pushing every week and every like new ideas that we have into this experimental. And whenever like there's like a cycle where when the experimental is stable and finally have like stuff that we like every month, we push whatever is on experimental is going to be moved to the official and published as the main app. So this idea, so people could have both.
Martin just sent us a lot of questions.
It's a summary. Cool. So a lot of people have a way to experimental app and have the real app. Because sometimes the experimental is we break it, and then sometimes it stops loading. And then for me, it's really useful that I have both apps installed, and then I can just switch to the standard one and keep using it. So that's the whole idea. The apps are gonna even share the list of servers. So if you are subscribed and authenticated, if some servers with your regular app, whenever you open the experimental, it's just going to share the credentials and the tokens and everything between the two apps. So you won't have to keep like re-signing in when you have the other. So that's just to make it easier for people to have both and give feedback on the new, but always be able to rely on a stable other version. Let's see. What else we wanted to talk about? There was this talk about Fuselage, like the new design system that we built. You guys are going to see very soon. We have some areas of the admin that are going to start using the components, and then throughout the next couple of weeks to months, we will replace the whole admin with this new interface. I think now I have to check if the project is already public or not. I believe it is, but if it's not, no?
Not sure.
No, I'm not sure. I believe it is public. If not, it's going to be very soon. We are trying to get at least to a little bit more final stage with it before we make it public. But I think it's now, from what I've seen, very, very close to being public. And I think the front end team was waiting as soon as they start using in Rocket.Chat to get that repository and make it public as well, so people can see where the modules and where the components are coming from, so they can help on both. But our belief and it's that it's going to make all our development of the admin areas of Rocket.Chat a lot easier by using this framework, and a lot more cleaner, more structure. The whole CSS and the whole like structure of HTML have been thought from scratch and I think it's going to make a lot of difference in performance and load time and even on the looks and everything. It's really an improvement. The other stuff I think this next release is going to already come with is the new version of the Federation. So Federation was in alpha, and now I think we can say it's going to be in beta. But the Federation is going to already have a lot of the stuff that I talked about the chained messages and the event system. So Federation is the first area of Rocket.Chat making use of those that architecture where everything is an event or a message and they're all chained. So it makes easier for servers to sync when they can always just confirm that they never missed a parent message. So this is why we decided to release this first in Federation, so we can track the performance and bugs and stuff, how this is happening, while we start merging this technology to the core of the system. So Federation is just this initial version, and that's why it's Federation beta, because the final version of the Federation, it's going to be so baked into the Rocket.Chat itself that it's not going to be this side thing. It's just going to be a state of servers, and the whole flow of message between all the servers are already using the chain of messages, the chain of IDs. So it become less of ad hoc something on top and more of just something that is built in, and then the servers sharing that stream and making sure they all have all the parts. And also something that is just waiting for us to replace the mobile apps, which is the end-to-end encryption. Well, because right now the focus on the mobile apps is really to replace the old one. So we're not building any new features on the mobile apps. We're just making sure we cover all the old features. So when people get their app replaced on their mobile automatically, they won't miss things that they had. There might be a few things. I think the theming part we're gonna have to launch without it. I think there's more benefit in launching without it than waiting for the theme to be ready. But apart from that, it's all the other features are going to be covered. And then once we replace it, we're going to build the end-to-end encryption on top of that. Let me see. I think let's just check those questions. Does the core team use any project management tool internally? Does it make team collaboration much more efficient? So yeah, we use a project management tool internally. We actually use Asana for some of our stuff. It's most of our what are the T developers use is on GitHub itself. So we do have the issues, and everything is still being discussed there. What we have on Asana is sometimes more like roadmap and higher level things that we want to do, because we feel that is a bit harder. Like GitHub doesn't have the whole concept of like milestones and some of the other dependencies that we like. So we use Asana, and because sometimes those major changes or features are part of projects that involve marketing team or sales team into build stuff. And then on Asana, we have the whole company, while in GitHub, we have just the developers. So we end up using Asana so we can put them all together. Okay. So Martin is helping us with the. Okay. Will you announce all removed features in a blog post prior to removal so we can discuss with the community before it's all gone? So yes, and I think from my understanding, we kind of have been doing this. There was a project created to start giving warning messages whenever you use a deprecated feature. So whenever you use a deprecation it's already mentioned, and we're not going to remove anything we have not deprecated beforehand. So, for instance, we first made a release deprecating stuff, and then a few releases later, we then remove it. I think the only exception here is the deprecation of the MongoDB 3.2 and the removal. They're going to be quite close apart. But I think one of the main reasonings behind it is even MongoDB themselves have already deprecated and is already not supported anymore. So we thought like if even MongoDB do not support a version of MongoDB, would be hard for us to keep supporting it from our side and wouldn't make much sense. And then we think there's lots of upside in new features and stuff that we are not using in Rocket.Chat, and for us it's more important to make it faster and get those new functionality and make it more scalable and stable, and using the new Chinese stuff from MongoDB. Not even that new, because they're not many, still supporting the same features, the same releases that they are supporting, not just the latest one. But that's why we dropped mainly a release that wasn't even supported by the builders anymore. So yeah, the idea is everything is deprecated and then can be discussed, but if all goes to plan, removed a few releases later when you have a major release, which is the breaking change. We had a terminal to directly control Rocket.Chat instance, so not just a cluster, specifically admin. I think I'm gonna have to defer that to Aaron. Let's make a note, because I know that there are some terminal. There is a CLI for Rocket.Chat.
Rocket.Chat TL.
Rocket.Chat TL.
Yeah.
That is being done. I'm not sure if it was that specific just for cluster or it was for anything. But I have to check. In theory, if we build a script and use the SDK, we would have be able to control not just the cluster but any instance. But let's mark this as something that we need to get Aaron involved and Lucia.
By the way, Rocket.Chat CTL, we have a webinar on that, so be sure to check it out on our channel, YouTube channel.
Okay, I'll check it out. Because I'm clearly not fully aware of what it covers. What is the process of reviewing large pull requests with lots of stars and follows? Is there a weekly meeting to go over these? It seems the pull requests for being behind. Once you get far behind, maintainers of pull requests give up to. Yeah, so it's always an ongoing effort. Not just a debate, it's an effort, and I think something that we struggle sometimes. When we see pull requests that are almost there, but not. There's maybe it's not entirely how we would like to merge, and then we end up not merging, but not giving the right feedback so the author can fix it. And we have been a little bit stretched on resources on stuff that we need to improve and need to make it work better, or some of the scalability issues and other stuff that we've been working on, and then doesn't leave much time for that. We do have a weekly meeting to discuss issues and pull requests, what we call triage, and then but it's mainly issues, not as much as the pull request. Maybe something that we have to include on those is really to look at the pull request and triage the pull request as part of that at that meeting. I know that, for instance, there's a pull request that has been there for years, and now Gazu is finally finding a time to go around and merge it. And then and it was a feature for having access control over settings, which makes total sense, very useful, done by the guys on Deutsche Bahn. That is just something that would be very straightforward in theory for us to merge, and we're neglecting it. What we have, and I can say it's where we're hiring more people in the next couple of months, something we'll talk about soon in the end of of this call, but we are bringing more people, and some of them are going to be more dedicated to getting more attention to what the community is building and the pull requests, so we can expedite those. And we totally understand that is a big letdown with the community from our side. What is the RC future plan for Nextcloud integration? Because I'm working on the GSOC project and integration between RC and Nextcloud better throughout the insertion of Nextcloud LDAP servers and improving the file picker. So I think now you got my maybe surprised. I've discussed with the Nextcloud guys, and whenever I meet them, I met them a few times, what are the new shiny stuff that we could build and more stuff that we could build. I think right now we're treating Nextcloud just as a file sharing mechanism. I think that they have a lot more features that they could ask. They could share, like calendar and some other things that we have to do. So maybe once we have the file picker working really well and even like widget for the picker and all this stuff and being easy, very easy for everybody to use, we should go into more other areas of Nextcloud that you could join. Specifically, I think calendar could be a very interesting part, and maybe even have some updates from Nextcloud being streamed into Rocket.Chat, and people edit documents, or they do change the stuff to have those notifications into Rocket.Chat would also be cool. So I'm working on integrating Rocket.Chat into a client web application. I've worked out using the embedded layout and REST API to make my own chat window using my own UI, etc. This is so that users in the app can communicate via direct message in Windows at the bottom of the app, like Facebook does. Is there any chance that something like that is coming to the future, similar to what I have done with Light Chat? I think, because there was a version. That's a version of the Rocket.Chat UI that was built specifically for having the rooms on the bottom, and like
I certainly don't remember that.
Like Facebook and it was used by a company called. They did it was kind of like a social network for investors and stockbrokers. Someone who helped to help my memory, but I'll make a note and try to share that in the channel. And the whole idea was, okay, left the webinar. I have to run a little bit, but just so you guys know, I think there is, and we also have this idea. Then we are starting to rewrite, like starting for the admin, but rewrite the whole Rocket.Chat into React. And the idea that some of those components, it would be a lot easier to just render the window, the room area into a widget, or like to restructure the components in a way that you can actually do very, very similar to Facebook and have one route on the UI where you could see Rocket.Chat that way. We've had one in the past. I'm not quite sure if it's still there somewhere, but the idea is when rewriting, we'll take that in consideration, because one of the features that we have is for users to be able to open two or more channels on the same screen. So that, and then maybe you can then remove the canvas around them and just have them rising from the bottom. So there is a plan for that, but it's going to take a while, because we'll first have to replace the current UI of the React Native version that we're building. We have different level of app versions for development, A/B testing along a stable branch. Can you space Snapcraft? I think this is for you guys. So
yeah, this is not planned right now, but it's certainly a good insight and something we're going to definitely discuss, because A/B testing is like a very important tool, like to test against conversion of your apps and things like that. So yeah, that's a good idea. We were totally going to. to
Yeah, sometimes alone maybe can turn into feature settings where you feature flags and you have some statistics about people using with one flag and using with the other flag. And that's an easier way of the A/B testing. Lots of talk about subscription and selling apps. When developers actually be able to start selling apps? Again, that's with we're hiring more people for that team. I think first we wanted to sell our own and make sure everything is working. I think now we're just able to buy apps for the last 10 days or 11 days. We're now finally selling subscription to our own apps. So ideally we want to keep that running at least for a month. And then I think we can start opening for people wanting to sell their own apps. So very soon, like just a couple of weeks until we can do this. We just need to test our own first. And I think there's some legal paperwork and then the operations the team is doing on how to get the right contracts and licensing and payment system again to distribute the money, which is then it's got a little bit beyond the developers, but it shouldn't be too complicated, hopefully. When will status message UI be on mobile? Again, as soon as we replace the mobile apps with the experimental ones, this kind of new feature is going to start being built on the mobile. So all those new things are first waiting for the mobile to be the React Native apps on the mobiles, and then those features are going to start being built. When will we get a binary channel for communication between bots? The UI element that shows it's here. Binary channel, not sure entirely I get it.
Maybe a direct message for communication.
That shows bots. It's there with a link to some app. I think I need more explanation. Binary meaning like it's not text, it's even more condensed messages just for the bots to read. UI element that shows it's there. I'm not entirely sure I understand this one, but maybe if you can send me a more descriptive message, a little bit more descriptive, I can try to answer directly. Will the native iOS app start remembering my credentials and not forgetting a server once the session times out? It's a good question. Like the iOS mean the React Native app, because we're going to be not supporting ourselves the iOS one. If it's the second one, it's a bit tricky. I think the fact that we don't store your password anywhere, so the mobile app doesn't know your password, it only knows your token, right? And if your token expired, it expires. So I think what we need to do, it's a little bit more of letting people choose the timeout of tokens and not expire the tokens as quickly. I think we have some limitations around the Meteor framework where they expire the tokens in a way that is not totally controlled by us at the application levels. A lot of the stuff is controlled on the Meteor framework level, and that's why sometimes there are some weird expirations. Having said that, our plans to remove the Meteor part of that, so we would have full control about the expiration of tokens. And I think, there's some works around. If that's something really annoying, it's like this expiration of tokens. We need to work on that. We have some ideas of even giving a UI for users to control their tokens, so they know how many tokens they have been, so they know all the sessions that they open in different servers or different UIs, and they will be able to control and disconnect all the others and stuff, or maybe even changing the expiration of a token. But it's a little more tricky. It's not just the mobile app to remember your password, because we never do this. It's more fixing the token expiration problem. Sorry. So soon, is there a plan to make two-factor authentication work with LDAP authentication? The issue is stuck for quite some time. Yeah, we have one of the hires that we have looking for is a LDAP expert, and we'll work on that. There's a whole PR with a lot of improvements to LDAP that we should be. I'm not sure. Like it's getting high priority for us to merge it so you can get it out on the next release as part of the 2.0. Something maybe worth mentioning on the top. And then we'll see if you get someone new on the team on time to help with the two-factor authentication. I think that would be great. But it's definitely an important issue for us. Is there a place for planned features or wanted features that you are looking for the community to help with open source help or requests? So we have a repository that is called feature requests, where we're asking most people to put the feature request there. And sometimes things that we move there is where we are not planning to do it ourselves because we don't think it's that much of a high priority. They're sometimes nice to haves rather than something that we really, really want in the project. So that's one places that we monitor for feature requests. And also, but if you want to really help, you can even get stuff from featured planned list on our main repository, and those ones then is like we really would love help to build those, because the ones that are feature planned is features that we think are important and relevant. I think
so.
Yeah,
I think that's all the questions.
That's all the questions.
Breaking news.
We have some breaking news from you guys. One of the stuff that is also really important in our kind of project, where we spend a lot more of our resources than we actually make from the project, and we want to keep evolving the project fast and hire more people to do more stuff. We closed last week our funding round. So our initial investor keep their share of the investment, and NEA was happy even to do the round all by themselves, but we thought there would be a good opportunity to bring different investors on board so they could help with us, like recruiting, improving our commercial sides, help us get more developers. So we actually end up opening the funding round to a lot more investors, and we're happy that we got Monashis, DGF, and 1VC. Those are three of the main Brazilian investors. The whole idea was to try to get some investors from Brazil involved, so they could help us with their network in the country and help us get some more people here where we have the headquarters. It was a very successful round. It was above and beyond our initial plans. It will give us all the resources we need to hire a lot more developers and a lot more sales team, get the project moving even faster, so it was a very good round. And I think for the project, it validates our trajectory, the stuff that we're building so far. We have many more investors interested than we could actually take on board at this point. But it was good that it's give us a renewed effort, breath for this next phase, and a lot more people involved. And there's interesting, for instance, we get some of our investors were involved in other big projects and even open source projects. They're turning to major companies, the IPO and all the all the way. So they have a view and will really be able to help us on how to grow the company on this next phase, getting more, some more process in place, more really structure in a way that is ready for this next chapter of the company. So we are really help with that. So the good news is we will be around for quite more time for sure. Like which I'm sure we'll be around forever. But that was one major milestone that we are happy to share with you guys that we did our second funding round. And I'll say thank you for our current investor NEA and our new investors Monashis, DGF, and One VC.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very exciting news, and hopefully we're going to get faster on track now with our milestones and desired features. Right. So I guess we're on time now, right?
You have your closing remarks?
Yeah, I do.
But you're on time now, yeah.
So thank you guys for joining us, guys and gals, for joining us in the second part of our AMA for August. Watch the recording of this AMA and the past AMAs and webinars in our YouTube channel to get up to date with our news. Stay tuned also for through our social channels like in Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Not sure if we have something else.
No.
I have Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Oh, Instagram, yeah, go. To like
Links on the description down below. I love it. My kids love to do that. Links in the description.
Don't forget to like.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we are hiring, so we attempt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we also we are hiring, and I think I told you that we got investors from Brazil, but we're not limiting our hiring in Brazil. We have positions in all continents. So yeah.
Rocket.Chat jobs.
/jobs. I need to know if it already been updated, but you still can start applying there. I'm not sure if I don't think all the job openings are there yet, but they are being updated there soon. Cool.
Yeah. Right.
That's it.
And again, we're gonna be doing this every month, so stay tuned. We're gonna have another one about the same time earlier next month this time.
Yeah.
The first week of every month. So
keep
thank you
asking
guys.
questions on our channels, on our Rocket.Chat, and hopefully we get to answer them every month.
Every month.
Okay, guys. Bye bye.
Right.
See you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah.